Good afternoon. My name is Karina Acosta. I'm also part of the TARINA's project as an intern this summer. And what I'm going to present here is my results about the research that I was conducting between the summer and this semester. Basically, my main goal was to cover the trends in nutrition, the triple burden of nutrition, not only understanding nutrition as underweight or stunting, but also the understanding malnutrition as micronutrient deficiencies, and also as overweight and obesity, which is less popular in the case of India. So because this was part of the TARINA project, one of the goals, which is mainly the trends and the status of malnutrition, was focused on the TARINA's states, which are Bihar, UP, Uttar Pradesh, and Odisha. So the second goal of this study was the estimation of the hypothetical gains in life expectancy at birth due to the elimination of causes of death associated to malnutrition. And then the third goal was to estimate the monetary cost of disability adjusted life years correlated to malnutrition. So in general, for the first goal, which is mainly descriptive, I use all the data sources that I found that have anthropometric data and biometric data, and I put them all together to see consistency and also if they to see trends in time. And then for my second goal, I used some cost-deleted life tables, which are popular demography methods, and also to estimate the undernutrition and overweight burden, I differentiated between the diseases that are associated directed to undernourishment and those diseases that are associated with the other side. I mean, in general, these are diseases that are associated to overweight, but not all of them is explained just by overweight. And for my third goal, I used indirect costs using a human capital approach to measure the burden of mortality and morbidity that is destroyed due to this burden of malnutrition. And again, the data I use come from the World Health Organization and a statistic of GDP in India. And again, I did this separation. If you want to talk about the details, I'm happy to talk about after the talk because it has a lot of detail. So in general, the results and the descriptive part, I found that the stunting is reducing. And also, I found that the difference, the gap between urban and rural areas have been remained the same over the years. And on the other side, I found that anemia, especially in children under 2 years old, it hasn't, I haven't found like improvements at all. And finally, the overweight has been increasing while India is still facing a huge burden of underweight and undernourishment. There is a huge burden that is increasing of overweight and obesity that is less popular. More recent data that was released for the overweight in 2015, and I compared that data with the overweight in 2005. I found out that in general for females and males and for all of the states that are already released, there is an increase in overweight and obesity without exception. And that is really impressive because there are only 10 years between these 2 points in time. Moreover, the results show me that there are some patterns of correlation, like spatial correlations in terms of nutrition indicators. For instance, like states in East and Northeast India has similar burden of stunting and overweight. Meanwhile, like in Delhi and states like Delhi and Punjab has some burden, like in terms of overweight, similar to Kerala, but still has a huge burden in terms of stunting, which is similar to the average of India. My second set of results that show the hypothetical years of life expectancy that are earned that can be earned due to the the elimination of these causes of death are associated to undernourishment and overweight show me that in general, like malnutrition, in understanding malnutrition as undernourishment, and on the other side, overweight can have similar burdens in terms of life expectancy. For instance, I found that undernourishment can represent like 1 year of life in terms of the average life expectancy of India. And on the other side, like ischemic diseases or hypertension can have a similar burden compared to this one. Finally, the economic costs of malnutrition they show something interesting, and there is a switch between 2004 and 2012 in the burden and the relative burden of overweight and obesity compared to undernourishment. So while in 2004, the weight, I mean the burden in terms of monetary costs of undernourishment was higher than the diseases that are associated to overweight and obesity. It was the case in 2004. There is a switch in 2012, which is very impressive since again, there is a short period of time. So my conclusions and recommendations based on this information is like, first of all, there are primary sources like the vital statistics that have substantial room to improve, and that can kind of have a lot of, make us as researchers have a lot more limitations. There are persistent and noticeable discrepancies across the states and urban-rural areas. What is more what I would like to underscore here is like, even though we are improving, India is improving in terms of undernourishment, the gap between urban and rural areas is still the same. Differences across surveys, it's also another finding of mine. And so my recommendation would be like joint efforts toward a more comprehensive database of malnutrition indicator would add a great value to the understanding of this phenomena in India and its states, because less assertive public policies would be produced in absence of what's the real situation of the map of nutrition in India. And then, although the indicators of stunting and underweight of children have improved, overweight and obesity is an increasing phenomena. And finally, another conclusion is that the least visible phase of malnutrition, which is overweight and obesity, can cost as much as undernourishment in monetary and life terms, and should not be ruled out in public policy terms. Thank you.